I'm gonna go and tell you right now, the 2025 NBA draft class is unbelievable. From top to bottom, I truly believe this is one of the most talented classes that we've had in a very, very long time. But the top 3 guys in this class, we're already having some very weird conversations about. Those 3 guys being Cooper Flagg, Ace Bailey, and Dylan Harper. Flagg, of course, was the guy that everybody's been hyping up coming into the season. He had the Team USA stuff where he went and played against the real Team USA and had some incredible performances. Everybody was raving about how well he was playing. I think he was still 17 years old at the time, a really, really young prospect, and has this athletic profile, this all-around game that everybody really likes. And then the other 2 presumed top guys in the class, or at least so far this season, are all on the same team. Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper both playing for Rutgers. So right off the bat, that's kind of a weird situation, but I want to talk first about Cooper Flagg because I think this is going to be a narrative and a theme for him all season long. He is an incredibly difficult prospect to evaluate because he doesn't match the typical idea of what we think an NBA star or superstar is. And the best way that I can describe that to you and explain that to you is the top level comp of the highest of highs that Cooper Flagg could get to. I think the best comparison for him is Jason Tatum. And obviously there's the Duke comparison there. There's a physical profile there. But to me, that is what I think Cooper Flagg should be at the next level if he properly develops. But Tatum is also one of those guys that I don't think people really see as what he truly is, which is a top 5 to 7 to 10 player in the NBA. I think people just look at the Celtics, they see this incredible team, and Tatum doesn't really get recognized as truly one of the best players in the league, despite the fact that he continues to make all NBA teams and has an incredible two-way impact. And that difficulty that we have as a community evaluating the impact of someone like Jason Tatum, I think also extends to Cooper Flagg as a prospect. He is not this incredibly fluid scoring type player right now. Maybe he can get there, and he has a skill set where I think especially in the mid-range and getting to the rim, he feels very comfortable, has a pretty good handle, but it's not like he's taken a ton of pull-up threes. It's not like there's a lot of really advanced offensive moves in the mid-range. He's just trying to get to these mid-range jumpers and elevate over guys and score. This isn't Kevin Durant, and I think we have a hard time with that when it's a 6'8", 6'9" wing that plays on both ends like Cooper Flagg does. We have a hard time visualizing how that turns into NBA stardom. Well, how that turns into NBA stardom is Jason Tatum. And if you get Jason Tatum with the first pick in this draft, that is fantastic. Now, I'm not trying to say that Cooper Flagg is without his flaws. He has to become a better jump shooter overall. It's going to be really difficult for him to survive as a high level, star, superstar kind of player at the NBA level if he's taking this many mid-range jumpers because he's using his size a lot to score right now in college because he's just bigger than a lot of the guys that are guarding him. But if he really wants to have a ton of on-ball reps and be this really top-level creator and scorer, he's going to have to shoot the ball better from 3, and that's something that Tatum really worked on. But Tatum was way ahead of where Cooper Flagg is right now in terms of a perimeter jump shooter. But if you're thinking about his archetype, it is that two-way player that impacts the game but isn't necessarily getting the ball every time down the floor, but still, has an upside as someone that could score 22, 25 points a game. And in case you had any doubt to this point in the video, I absolutely think Cooper Flagg is the best prospect in the class. I think he's unbelievable, and he's in his own tier, at least right now, compared to the other 2 guys that we're going to talk about. But before we get to those other 2 guys, I want to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, DoorDash. And you might think DoorDash is just food delivery, but it's not. They've got retail items, they've got flowers, they've got all kinds of stuff that you can order, and this is a big deal for me right now for a couple reasons. One, my wife is pregnant, so sometimes there's just something that she wants, and I just go ahead and order it. Other times I'm getting a lot of work done, and there's just something that I want specifically, whether it be a retail item or food or otherwise, and just having that option always there is really nice when I'm not feeling well, when I'm on a time crunch. All that stuff is super helpful to be able to have DoorDash as an option. And for me, it's a huge time saver. Like I just don't always have the time or want to carve out the time in the day to make some food or go to the store to get some kind of retail item or something like that. Or obviously it can be a fun thing. Maybe my wife and I want to order something to be delivered at the house. All of that is really nice to have. So DoorDash is your door to more. Download the DoorDash app now to get almost anything delivered and use code SPORTING2024 to get 50% off up to $10 on your first order of $15 or more. And thank you again to DoorDash for sponsoring this video. All right, so you probably heard about Cooper Flagg, right? But the other 2 guys at the top of this 2025 draft are super interesting to me. First, I want to talk about Dylan Harper because this is who right now I would have ranked second in the class. He's a guard at Rutgers, 6'6", 6'10", wingspan. Really interesting athletic profile because he's not unbelievably athletic, but he's strong, and you're going to hear me use the word crafty. There's a lot of kind of Jalen Brunson to his game. I'm not saying that he's going to be Jalen Brunson, but that is the comparison that I've seen thrown around. Obviously, he's bigger than Brunson is, or taller than he is at least, and that kind of just crafty scoring skill set, not necessarily a pass first kind of guy, but a point guard that's going to be able to create for you off ball screens. There's just a lot to like about Dylan Harper. He's producing extremely well at Rutgers, and it looks like you could put him into an NBA game tomorrow and he would perform really well. The downside for him is the overall upside and potential of him. We tend to correlate athleticism with potential, and compared to some of the other guys potentially at the top of this class, Dylan Harper is just not on their level athletically, and that to a lot of people can kind of lower his ceiling and his potential. And really what I think this is going to come down to is we're going to be comparing him and his teammate a lot. Ace Bailey, the third guy in this class to me right now, that's the top three, and then I think there's a little bit of a tier break because it's very weirdly similar to the Scoot Henderson versus Brandon Miller thing a couple of years ago, although I liked Scoot Henderson a lot of the time, I'll fully admit that. But it's this almost referendum on what do you value in the NBA? Do you value a guard that's going to get a lot of ball screen reps, or do you value this kind of combo guard wing scoring guy like Ace Bailey? Ace Bailey is someone that is going to be the most polarizing prospect in the entire class. There are going to be people that once we get to the draft, they're going to say Ace Bailey should go first overall. He should go over Cooper Flagg because of the upside, because of the potential, because of the scoring. And there's going to be people that have him outside of the top five. There are going to be two widely different ends of the spectrum for Ace Bailey. And I fall somewhere in the middle on that. I can understand the upside and the potential of what he does as an athlete, how fluid he is, the size, the scoring, the skill. I can totally understand why that might appeal to you more than even someone like Cooper Flagg, and certainly more than someone like Dylan Harper. But I have an issue with the guy that is this athletic, this big, that just doesn't get to the rim. That's a big red flag for me. Like, if you don't have any real rim pressure in your shot profile and you're taking a lot of jump shots and you're at this guy's size, it makes me question two things. One, are you strong enough to get to the rim? And two, is your handle good enough to get through contact, get to the rim, and finish? And that was, ironically, a question that we had about Brandon Miller as well. And although Scoot and Dylan Harper are pretty different in terms of prospects, I think Brandon Miller and Ace Bailey are scary similar as prospects in terms of bigger guys, skill, can shoot, but don't really get to the rim as much as you'd like them to. And I think a lot of that stuff, although Brandon Miller's had a really good first 2 years in the league, a lot of that has come to fruition for him where he just doesn't all the way attack the rim the way that you want him to. And I think there's just some really interesting comparisons at the top of this class where you're looking at like Andre Kirilenko as a floor and Jason Tatum as a ceiling for someone like Cooper Flagg. You're looking at maybe a bigger version of Jalen Brunson with Dylan Harper, and you're looking at what we all thought Brandon Miller could and still could be there with Ace Bailey. And that, to me, that's the top three guys in class. You've got Igor, you've got some other guys so far in this 2025 class, but that is the top three. I think it's tier one Cooper Flagg, tier two the other two guys from Rutgers, and then kind of everybody else. And what I think is fun about those three players is there's going to be no shortage of conversations and narratives around those three guys. There are going to be so many talking points. What's the overall upside of Cooper Flagg? Where does Ace Bailey fall in this because of his potential? Should you just take the probably seen more so as a safe pick and someone like Dylan Harper? They're all one and done guys. They all have incredible upside potential. And then there's a ton of players outside of them that could still challenge for the top three in this class. But I just can't wait to continue to get more film on these guys and see them play more in college and then see kind of how things shake out as we get closer to the draft.